meeting to order at 10:11. We have a quorum. We'll go out to any public comment.
Sure, why not? I guess West Wise, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union, also part of the Poor People's Campaign, the National Call for Moral Revival, National Union of Homeless. I have a lot of counterparts around the state, around the nation, trying to legitimize whatever, like an address for people or a way of living, minimal health and safety standards. I think it would really work, like how we had shelter in place. People did maintain, and there were service providers that mitigated whatever trash, abandoned campsites, and tried to treat the person as a whole person. United States citizens, or at least as long as they can find documentation. It may be harder soon, but we need. These are our family members in a lot of cases. For me, Rita, over 200 people that she knows about have died waiting for services that are signed up, docile, submissive, shy, compliant. You wonder where that trauma comes from. It's the city's enforcement. So if you want to attack people, that's one thing, but if we supported people, that would be completely different. So stopping the sweeps is always my big concern. Not stealing people's personal property, because that's life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, food, clothing, and shelter. You need shelter, and without shelter, you still need it. So yes, no, we shouldn't allow people to live in a tent, but we're not going to put anybody in a building. So between all that, people are making their own affordable housing, and we shouldn't take away the affordable housing they're making for themselves. And we can't break the law to enforce the law. So you got to go through the process. There's got to be posting a notice. There's got to be connecting with services. There's got to be putting people in permanent supportive housing. If that's a building that you're just dying to crave for but never fund. So like we just got to let people be, and drive them to a better health and safety standard. Put it in writing, make it a policy, and then that way the city also is blocked from stealing people's property.
Thanks for your comments, Wes. We'll move on. I'm going to close this door. We have this door open, so it's still open to the public, but just for a little bit of sound blocking. We'll move on to the consent. What?
Do you want to say anything for
Oh yeah, public comment. You came in perfect time.
Oh, no, I don't even know what's the subject.
So you just started, so
Okay,
just open
like
it up to
anything?
public, anything.
I'm just here
Price of
to,
eggs, whatever.
yeah, I'm just here to hear what's going on downtown and how I can support you guys, and so that's my role. Yeah, I'll try and come as much as I can.
Well, yeah, sure.
And then anything else.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Fabulous.
Perfect. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Now we'll officially move on to the consent agenda. We've got minutes for March 2025, a financial report for March 2025, minutes for April 10, 2025, minutes for April 24, 2025, and a financial report for April 2025. Is there any information on it?
Not really on the financials. The one that we're just handing out now is the current month. The one for April, there was one in the packet sent last week for March. Correct. The only, I don't know if we need an amendment or following later in the treasury report, but if you look under DISI's expenses, a lot of them are starting to be almost tapped out.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is because if you go under the DISI, District Identity Streetscape Improvements, essentially those are getting exhausted even though we're 5 months in. That is because we haven't allocated any of their expenses to the grant funds, which is supposed to cover quite a few of those expenses. So we're going to be transferring $50,000 this month out of that to cover, which we got from the Monterey Community Foundation. to cover some of those expenses. So we're gonna be transferring 50,000, that'll help, bring that number back down to where it should be.
Are those reimbursement grants or are they just a block grant?
It's a block grant, kind of allocated for,
Designated purpose, but you
designated,
don't
kind
have
of
to, you don't have to
rough.
submit invoices or anything like
We
that?
do at the end.
Yeah.
So we do submit to them, hey, here's what it went for.
And get a report about what we did.
Yeah,
and
so it's
how
like,
we
we're gonna
had.
run, under that, there was the holiday lighting, we're gonna run through that, that was 24/7,
Just shy of 25, yeah.
24/3, so they're gonna cover that. There was an allocation there for streetscape improvements and district identity, other expenses. You know, I was talking with Jen this morning, we've got the Google Ads campaign that's gonna be coming up right now, I think that was like 8,000, so we're gonna probably run that through it. And so we'll need to allocate out to hit whatever their categories are roughly.
So where does that put us for the rest of the year?
Haven't done the numbers on it, but it will
We'll be good.
bring that back down. So, and district identity is tricky because it's so sporadic. It's not like you have-
Flat line.
no, exactly. You have a couple of flatline things. SOBO's easy. It's like every month you have the same expenses going out. District identity is more, you have a small amount and then huge ad campaign, small amount, huge holiday budget, you know, kind of
We
sporadic.
call it lumpy in
Exactly.
financial
Yeah.
forecasting.
Yeah.
Dizzy's pretty lumpy.
And we do have some other future expenses coming down the pipeline with other grants, so that'll help, you know, alleviate that. But those grants have been amazing as far as,
Oh,
if
constant,
DISI was already tapped out for the year and done,
yeah.
to still be able, exactly,
Yeah.
to be able to do what we can do, I feel like it's critical.
Yeah.
So, thank you to all the grant funders.
Yay, thank you, for sure.
That's it for me.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll go to the public. No comment left? No comment, Margaret?
None?
Okay, we'll put these items together. Would anybody like to make an motion for our consent agenda items?
So, I'll second.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we'll move to the presentations. We've got reports from the president. And I'll talk a little bit about, we've got the rent stabilization ordinance out here that we have been working with the city directly to get repealed and then implement a rental assistance program, which we feel has a lot more value to our community and stops the loss of property. I have reported 130 units now that have left the market, with over 70% of them being single family, where they went from tenant occupied to an owner buying them and living in it. They'll never do rentals. I mean, I don't know how anyone would be able to afford to rent it out based on what things cost right now and interest rates if they're buying it after that. So we have some city council meetings coming up next Tuesday, and then the following. Anybody who can come out would be amazing. We need as much support as possible. And it's not just support in the moment, it's support as we continue on, because we care about the community and believe that the rent stabilization ordinance is truly harming it and our tenants, but our goal is to put something in place that helps them. So not only the rental assistance program, but working with planning to make major improvements, to streamline some processes. I've been talking to a couple ag businesses about farm labor housing and opportunities that may be out there as I'm exploring costs and roadblocks that they may be facing to help facilitate some of those potential options. Because that's what I'm seeing a lot is the farm workers housing is a lot of our issue. So addressing all of that. We also have the EDA that we're working on, which is a huge part of housing in our community as we grow. So grateful for everyone that's been involved in that and keep pushing forward with the city meetings. I also had a great meeting with Wes where we got to talk about homelessness and met with Rita. What's Rita's last name again?
Acosta?
Rita Acosta. So she wrote a book and was homeless and went from homelessness to housed, and her journey, and did some really amazing stuff by creating community while she was in a homeless encampment, and had a lot of information of just seeing things that I had not a ton of knowledge about, so I was really grateful for that opportunity and understanding more that we have a problem and really what's the solution. We're not loving having the homelessness on the street. It's causing a lot of financial issues for us and our community. We feel unsafe. I know Greg had a horrible incident outside of his office. Attendance, like, yeah. So, we really need to address this, and I'm hoping that as a community, we can look at alternatives and options that may work. And so I'm exploring some ideas with Wes, looking at financial costs and implications, and I would love to sit down with you, Peter, and talk about some of those ideas and where maybe some of them can work within our community. So those are all the things that are moving forward in my little world. And that's it, end of my report, thank you.
The rental assistance, where would the city find funds to accommodate whatever is being considered?
Well, they are ultimately gonna have to talk about that. Some of the things that we're recommending is they've got, what, $1.4 million sitting there?
Block grant?
Well, there's granting opportunities that we should definitely look into. And, but there's $1.4 million sitting there that they've already collected due to the ordinance. And that was legally collected when the ordinance was in place. Those monies can be transferred as a one-time thing from owners to fund this. We're also looking at different ideas from banks. And then there's some long-term solutions that need to be discussed because that only gets us through a portion. And so more of those conversations need to happen. And I'm sure the city council is looking through all of the options that they have as well. And us as a community are working diligently to provide them some data and options as well.
Well, not to belabor and get into a big discussion about the federal budget, but it looks to me, with this Trump administration, that CDBG is a big question. And I'm not trying to put our council member,
No, I understand what you're thinking,
does the city have any assurance that it's going to continue to get CDBG?
yeah. None. I think we're all living in limbo right now, but, you know, I think Audrey brought up a good point. There is a good pot of money right now that's available that we want to put aside for rental assistance. We don't want to just help, 5 or 10 families. We want to be able to help, greater numbers. So we're looking for partners to help us with that. But we need at least $1 million in there to start with, just to be able to have a rental assistance program. And that money is there. So I think, we're feeling pretty good about that from the get-go. But we need to, obviously bolster it up a bit.
I suggest we just assume that's not there, we solve our own problems here.
And that's okay too, yeah.
So we need to look at our land use policy and our zoning ordinance, which drive the housing costs more than pretty much anything else.
I would agree.
Well, those are a
And
lot
our
of,
permitting.
and our
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of that's in the existing
Well, and-
ADE, which helps resolve that.
That's right, so we need to
There's
prioritize.
a lot of
and
things
then we need to push it, once it gets adopted, we need to push it as a community, because this also solves the problem, right? We have to address it, otherwise this is just gonna be repeated again and again, and it's such, it's exciting when things come to a breaking point, because it gives such opportunity for growth and change, and I'm really hoping that our community does it in a way that allows us to collaborate. Amy and I also met with CCA, and we need to collaborate moving forward. We're on the same page. We may have different views on some of it, but it's just so we can survive is what the different views are.
We have the same goal, like our end game for every one of us, I think is the same. We just need to work together on how we're gonna.
Yeah.
But I think the timing is so critical, because, if not rent control, which a lot of people felt was positive, maybe not. It's like, what? What else do you do? So I think the council has the opportunity to offer alternatives to that.
Exactly.
And let that settle out, but because you've been proactive and quick on it, you've recommended these other alternatives that deliver affordable.
Exactly, yeah, our goal is to put the brakes on right now and step back and look at other options that I think are gonna be more viable long-term and sustainable.
Well, and clean up too, as it stands, my attorney just won a case where they were challenging the 10-day notice, and they had given a 3-day notice. The tenant came and said that it was a violation of the Salinas rent stabilization ordinance because you had to do 10 days, and the judge said it was, that couldn't stand, it was preemptive. You couldn't do that. It was a case that just got one here in Monterey County, and you see that with this ordinance, there are so many holes in the way that it was put together, and that is the reason why the full repeal is so necessary, because every single part of that has so many legal challenges that can be made over time and will just be torn down. And already has. I mean, what, 4 months, we're already winning cases because of the way it was written. It is a problem, and
it's not fixing the immediate solution, right? And I think that we have an opportunity to actually really step in right now to make change, right? And if we can just jump in and start changing zoning immediately, right? I have properties that owners are being denied zoning changes where there's housing, and I'm struggling with that. If we could just follow the guide that we're given, that the entire community, CHISPA, CCA, BHC put in front of us, I feel like this is going to be a huge positive change for the council to move forward, and then we can just start the process.
So Spark has got a board meeting next Thursday, so I'm going to present an idea that we draft a new housing ordinance. We just do it.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for the machine to do it. We do not trust the planners because
Right.
nothing that's been done to date has worked.
yeah.
So I think it would be foolish to rely on that, to expect there to be any meaningful changes. I think the community ought to just take it up and do it and make the recommendations to the council.
I would love to see what that looks like. I'm leaving next Thursday, so I won't be able to be a part of that, but that would be really helpful. And I think these kind of conversations are really important, especially if you guys are collaborating with CCA, which, you know, they've kind of shut themselves off to some of us as council members. I haven't heard from them since 2 weeks ago, but I think we need to just keep those conversations happening.
We really
Because there's
need
a
to
role,
work
there's a huge
together.
role that they can play too.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
an essential role.
Yeah.
And we need to be on the same page, working together. If not, I mean, this ordinance ended up so horrible because our voice was not heard in it.
Right.
So we can't move forward and not hear their voices. It needs to be us working together as a community, as the ED did so well with Spark. So we need to keep that moving forward, and it's absolutely essential. So we are working hard to cultivate those relationships and to allow these bigger conversations to be had, because it is so clear that we, both sides, care deeply, and it matters to everyone.
So we've been talking about the supply side of the problem, and I realize that's part of the issue, but there's other factors that contribute to homelessness.
Yeah.
What is the, and it's really probably not outside the purview of this group, but what is the city council talking about in terms of social, mental health services that really?
Yeah. I think it's more than a city problem. I think it's much broader than that,
Absolutely.
obviously, right? So,
Because I guess my concern is that we can go to all these great efforts, but
yeah.
we're only going to we're really addressing the symptom, not the problem, basically.
Well, I think as a council, we're trying to figure out, like, we need to do what we do best, and city is about, public safety, infrastructure, parks and rec, and all those things. And now we're getting into housing. Well, obviously, the city can't build housing, but we can, what I want to do is help streamline that permit process so we can get people, businesses up and going, get people into housing quicker, because that seems to be like a major, it's been a major, block
Can
for
the city buy,
years.
like tiny homes, can the city buy tiny homes and put it in the city limits?
I don't think we have the,
I don't think that's the city's job. The
I don't
city doesn't
either.
have a health department. The county has a health department.
Yeah.
Okay? But what the city can do is lay the groundwork for a
Yeah.
regulatory environment. to
Exactly.
Incentivize small investments, not waiting around for big home builders to build thousands of homes, but allowing people to subdivide their homes into a duplex, to get an ADU permit in a week at most, and lift the restrictions. And I think that the market will deliver. housing.
There's also those home key projects, I think, that are being litigated now. I watched an interview on KSW Donnie, where the 3 hotels in the city bought this funding. That home key basically was a scam, a company. And then I think that's all being litigated. So there's a ton of housing there, like transit housing that's, I think, will come online, hopefully in the next 5 years. So,
5 days?
next 5 years.
5 years.
But,
5 days would be up to us.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We know that's never going to
city,
right?
city owned housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
We do have a major mental health problem, that's a lot of it. I manage property in Chinatown, and it's so saddening to see, you know, I mean, just, I grew up here, right? I see people I know on the street, and it's a struggle, right? And it's a mental health issue, right? And that's something that I know it's not our city's responsibility to take care of, but it's our health department. Like, there's, you know, it's a county-wide issue, and they're not just staying within the city, so yeah, it might affect downtown, because everybody's sort of traveling or into certain areas, but the resources are right here, right? Which is why it really affects downtown, but it's a huge county ordeal, and I don't.
It is. Well, and you have a great point, and that's another factor that needs to be worked on right now. There's so much that it's hard to spread out to everything. In my mind, getting the ordinance repealed, us working on streamlining housing, because that is a root cause, and then working on other root causes like health, mental health, and working with the community is incredibly important. And I don't think we can depend on our county or our city to do it. I love Peter's approach in most everything, that we just do it ourselves and get it done. And obviously we have to present it to them, and they have to be on the same page with us. But I think we need to make their lives easy and present some of these solutions that are community vetted, and help us move forward.
Well, I just want to plant a seed in all of your minds, is how do we get the county to act? Because I don't hear any murmur of that happening.
Yeah.
Well, they've got some
Are they
housing
dependent on the
projects,
state?
they do have a housing project underway on Laurel, it's called Eden.
Right, but that's on the supply side, I'm talking about the
Mental
mental
health.
side.
Mental health side.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I don't hear it even discussed.
yeah. Well, I
That's
think
concerning.
we have to figure out who the right people are, and maybe our assembly people at that would be good.
Well, I think statewide, they've adopted a housing first policy. So we gotta get them in housing first, and then we'll figure out the rest.
But it's hard to keep them in housing, like I worked with, so we were in a pilot program, Salinas was, just so you know, for a state thing, and it was called CASH, right? So then they would go, they were partnered with CSU and B, and then they would go live in a hotel or whatever, and then they have like a mental health person taking care of them, trying to reintroduce them back into society, because it's tough to get back in. And the program failed deeply, you know, because of it. But you can't put somebody in a house and just expect them to jump back in and be like, yeah, I can pay my bills, I know how to keep everything clean, I know how to do all of this stuff. You just set them up for failure. Like literally, and I hate to say it, but yeah, so they sort of just come simultaneously, right? You have to have the housing and the mental health issue at the same time to help
All the
truly
wraparound
help people.
services.
You have to,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, the
wraparound
homelessness
services.
stuff that
Really
we're talking about, that will have to go hand in hand. There's no way that anything like that can work without it, for sure. So, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's, any other comments? Otherwise, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Treasurer report, I gave it all in the previously, basically, nothing else to add.
Okay, perfect. District coordinator.
Sure. Part of your packet that I sent out is I'm trying to dig into a pretty substantial, list of events that are happening in the city, in our downtown. I even reach out to all the private businesses, and if they have a party or open mics or concerts or bands or whatever, I'm trying to reach out. And on the back end, I'm also contacting them after the fact to say, hey, how busy was it? How was your turnout? What are we, how are things? So I did not include that data, but this is on your actual packet that I emailed to you. These are all clickable links, so you should be able to add them to your calendar if you have any interest going to them. And this list is also disseminated on our monthly newsletter. in addition to any flyers that any organizations or companies, businesses put out. I also include those on the newsletter. So I think for a year so far, I'm at like 300 or 400 events already. There's literally, if you were to divide it out by 365, there is literally 1 point something events happening downtown every day. So we're busy. There's lots of things, and like Live at Heirloom is doing a concert practically once or twice a week. Excel's doing it. The open mics are all over the place. So there's a lot of stuff happening. So that's cool. But anyway, I can give more detail if you guys want on the back end. But this is our 30-day lookout from this meeting. So that's what that is. The activities list.
Question,
Yes,
do
sir.
we give incentives to groups to bring their events downtown? Either waive fees or, like I work on Relay for Life.
Yeah.
We're down here, and one of the reasons we came here is we're trying to support downtown. And do we encourage that, or how do we get groups to come down here?
Our organization does not.
Okay, is somebody else?
That would be a city issue beyond that, I think. Something that we could ask for, potentially. But
We
we,
look at ways to incentivize people too to come downtown.
permit, is it worth it for the city to charge a permit for every event that happens if it actually brings 1,000 bodies downtown or whatever, right?
They do not shy away from charging these permits for.
I personally believe that the city overcharges for everything, but that's a whole different story. That's what my taxes are for. But that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah,
But yeah, good question. But our organization does not. Anything beyond that would have to go through the city, I think.
I think like an extra incentive to have your event downtown is that our organization will help market it. So we help any event that's
Right,
happening in
have we
Salinas City
told
Center,
them-
we're promoting it as well.
Have we gone out to the major organizations in town to tell them we'll do that?
We
go
don't,
out-
but if they approach us, like the Food and Wine, we sponsor it, we do a lot of digital marketing for them. Relay for Life, the first year that they came downtown, we did their press releases, we put out email blasts for them. So that's kind of an incentive, but they have to approach us, like, hey, we're having an event down here.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is, should we reach out to, we have a list of organizations.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
And tell them, hey, we'll help you.
It's
yeah.
not
Come
a
downtown.
horrible idea. We get such different feedback too from the merchants,
Right.
and they don't necessarily enjoy all of these big events
Yeah, the
coming
retailers
down.
don't like it, though.
Yeah, the retailers. Yeah, the retailers don't really enjoy it. So it's hard to find a balance in supporting them while promoting other activities that would maybe bring less people into their places. So we have always struggled with balancing that, and especially in DISI.
So when we have the events down here, does that not bring more people into the restaurant or to their shop?
Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
A certain bookstore would tell you that is the worst thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah.
And it's not just bookstores.
No.
For example, Orlando has been doing this foodie fest or whatever at the ITC. And, it's bringing lots of people downtown that may not have come downtown any other way, but then there are some restaurants that have said, hey, why are we supporting all of these foodie trucks half a mile from my legitimate brick and mortar that's, potentially keeping food off my plate? That's a good analogy. But we, to go back to the other comment really quick, we do go out to all of our businesses and, tell them, what do you have going on? What can we do to help? Can we broadcast this? Can we market it? Send us your flyer so we can tell other people about it. And honestly, the uptake has been very little.
Right, because you're going to the businesses around here. I'm talking about going down to organizations.
Yeah, the big orgs, yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm talking about the
What we
businesses.
do actually do, yeah.
So that we are doing that part, but we're not reaching out to the
But that's the
rodeo.
caveat.
How
Do
can
we
we
really-
market you more?
Do we really want that? Are we taking away from the people that are here in the brick and mortar? And that's been a little bit of our struggle
Yeah.
pushing some of those things forward.
Because we're the downtown association, or, our Salinas City Center,
Yeah.
so I think that we have to support people who have brick and mortars
Yeah.
here, because they want to be down here, and they're paying
Well,
for
they pay a
the.
good amount to be
to be
here, so
here,
they should be
yeah.
supported, yeah.
So-
But that was, it's a good comment and something to think about for different areas, especially if we really build on Salinas, the way some of these plans are, there's lots of opportunities to do events in different locations where we're not taking away from our downtown. But until we truly grow, I think it's hard to have all of those events downtown without disturbing the brick and mortar.
Well, I don't know how you're never gonna not disturb them
I
unless you
think
have.
you're right, but it's a balance of how much, right? So if I'm inviting it in, then it's,
Which member are we gonna piss off today?
yeah.
Well, isn't, just in a general point of view, more activity better for
better.
everybody?
I think so.
Yeah.
You would think in theory too, but until we can legitimize some of these conversations, it makes it hard. Really, how much is it you not liking something versus it truly affecting you? And how can we get the data to understand that completely so we can make a really educated choice about moving forward? But in my mind, yeah, more people,
So-
the better.
The other thing that's somewhat frustrating is, did you guys know that there was a Laguna Seca event downtown last night?
Yeah, there were 9 people there.
No, I didn't know.
Exactly.
Never heard
And
of
I'm my office is on 300
I
block.
know.
Right, but here, I think part of the issue was bad night to have a power outage. Took me an hour to get from North
Yes.
Salinas.
Yes. But beyond
We
that,
didn't know about
the only
it.
way I found out about it, and usually I talk to the permit people, but I haven't, I don't always talk to them. But the only way I found out about it is because I saw the street closure signs and I took a picture of it. Nobody reached out to the downtown organization, and maybe I could have reached out, but there's a bazillion different orgs out there.
So you're coming back to my point, which is if we had told Laguna Seca,
Well, so last year I stumbled upon their event downtown.
Yeah.
I walked out, I'm like, oh, there's an event here, that's great, and I talked to their marketing team, and I said, can you please let us know? So it's interesting to find out that it happened again, and like,
Last year, I remember you brought it up.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up and trying to find it online, because I was thinking, oh, my kids would love seeing in-cars downtown,
Yeah.
and walk up to them. So I was hoping to go to it, and I couldn't find anything online, I didn't miss
I never
it.
No,
I
I
didn't miss IndyCar, by the way, this was him saying the cars are blue.
last
So,
year was the Indy
last year.
First
Well,
car.
they'll usually have an IndyCar regardless.
Yeah,
It'll be here in
inside.
July.
Yeah, so,
Can
so,
we ask for
Yeah,
them to get their
Judy.
permit, that maybe they just notify us of when the events are?
and I have been in contact with Vicky at Special Permits, and she was sending me a list, but I guess for the beginning of May, I didn't get it.
Well, Margaret didn't know.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Because then maybe we could, it gives us an update, we can update our
There's obviously
people
a
downtown.
a gap, you know, I mean-
So my list of events, I literally scour it takes a significant amount of time. Maybe I need to train people better to send it to me instead. But I go through the major event websites, the major calendars, I try and copy stuff from other people that I see,
You can't be everywhere. all
Oh, and
the
I look at
time.
Instagram,
Well,
I,
that's, like, usually I'll find things on
That-
Instagram,
that
and I'll
event
like
was on
repost
the-
it, and I didn't know anything.
Count on the chamber's website.
Oh, it was, okay.
it was, but very last minute, I talked to Gabe yesterday, and they just found out about it themselves.
Okay, so I didn't see it there.
So, yeah,
Sounds like
no,
you called Laguna Seca's in order.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I
Little
think
things like that.
you're gonna have to do outreach and just let them know that, like, things are happening downtown, we wanna help promote it, and,
Yeah,
you need to let us know so we can support you.
so that's,
We don't
it's
want
just,
them to go to Monterey, like, and that's the thing, is that we're trying to drive them here, not to
Yeah,
go
and
to
they will,
Monterey.
eventually, yeah.
So I think that we are gonna have to do the outreach, they're not gonna do it.
No.
We want these things, these items to remain in Salinas, which is fantastic for our youth and people to see.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to do a little bit of outreach right now.
I'll reach out to their marketing team since I talked to them about it the last time this happened. So I'll just be like, hey,
and that's
It happened
just
again.
one particular entity. I mean, there's many, many like that. So, and we try and reach out as much as we can, but we miss it, things. Second item, list of merchants. You guys have received my spreadsheets in the past with like all of our 200+ merchants downtown. It's not part of the packet because I wanted to show you something new that I'm playing with. Here you go. If you want to hand that out and have a quick peek at it. Just a more of a booklet, and this kind of was triggered to me by talking to Tina right here at United Way, because they have a new tenant coming in. And they were asking, do we have a welcome packet? And we've been talking about a welcome packet and things to see and do. And so I've been kind of playing with the formatting of this, and this could be heck, it could even be like a Carmel magazine that you guys have, that the little 8x5 or whatever, with all the businesses in it. We can put pictures in it, we can put text in it, whatever you want, but this is just a list of businesses, so it can grow beyond this. And this list is, again, because I'm a giant nerd, you guys know that, is dynamically updated, so if a business changes or adds or removes, this printout changes automatically as well, so we just have to go to version 2 or version 3 or whatever. So, but this is a thought, and if you guys are interested, I can flesh it out more, and maybe you and I can work on it a little bit and add some pretty pictures.
I definitely think we should have a welcome pack.
Yeah.
Anytime a business comes down, like, have something included. I mean, this is a great idea, with like a guide of who your neighbors are, other businesses to support.
Yeah. And then it could almost,
Who,
if
like,
it
we
turns
are.
into a, takes a life of its own, we could literally make this a printable thing that we could leave at all the businesses saying, this is what's happening here. The Carmel Chamber, like I said, does it. I don't know if any other chamber does a business guide like this. But we're not a chamber, and you don't have to be a member of us, we just create it as a service for you. So,
Do you print it though, or do you have a QR code? Because we do have a lot of.
this could be either or. Because it's all digital, it'd be really easy to either print it or make it, something to click on.
Goes out of date for day.
And it's gonna change, it's
Right.
gonna change frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can have it like posted on the business windows too, that's a great idea.
I think that's fantastic, because if people who are on the main street,
Or you
they
could
can,
do it.
yeah.
You could have an app too.
True, but it's nice to have something. I think we should, both. I like kind of holy
I mean,
stuff.
if we did a welcome back, it'd be nice to,
Yeah.
Include something
give
like
an
that.
actual.
So
They
that's
would
just something
have
I'm
to be
playing with.
online
If you guys
time.
want me to continue fleshing this out, then it is also, I mean, I can send you the PDF right now, and it is in this format, so either or.
I think that'd be fantastic, and I think if you have it electronic as well, you could provide that to the chamber, and they're just gonna go ahead and give it out when they get their welcome packet for new members, right? I think that would be a great addition.
That is a great idea.
So that's my updated list of merchants that I'll continue to tweak a little bit then. Let's see, Steve asked me about a list of Main Street parking, and that is part of your packet. I guess I did it in September or October of last year, but I spent a couple of weeks indexing all of the vehicles that parked on Main Street. And on average, I would walk around, 10, 11, somewhere around there, and I would literally look at every single vehicle that is parked on 1, 2, and 300 block. And then I threw them all in a database and did a search and see how often vehicles are parking downtown. And it's basically proving the fact that we already know that merchants are, well, I'm assuming, but that merchants are parking on Main Street. Because if you see the same vehicle every day at the same time, the same location, that tells me that you're a business owner. You're not shopping. I mean, maybe, but it's unlikely. So this is a quick gander on the, the times I saw the vehicle. Let's say, this is the round box there is a selectable thing, but this time I printed out saying 5. I counted 1,500 vehicles, 1,100 unique vehicles from 15 different states on 16 different days, and I saw 34 vehicles more than 5 times in this time frame. Well, we only have 120 parking spots on Main Street, so a quarter of them are there repetitively all the time. And that's not counting the vehicles that may have moved to the back lot instead because they couldn't find a spot on Main Street. So I anonymized it because I don't want to, put anybody on blast here. But basically, you can see that vehicle 77 was seen 12 times in this span. And if you go to the next sheet down, it actually. No, it's
No,
not.
I know, that's it.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. I actually know who it is.
Well, the big truck's not deep, I'm not gonna say the SUV would.
Exactly. So, and it's actually kind of interesting because there's a few license plates, and I'm like, oh wow, you guys came from Connecticut or South Dakota, or so that just happens. I didn't research that. There's a script out there that looks at the data and it just tells me everything. So that's what this is. It's not like I went out and wrote down every license plate. So yeah, this basically proves in a span of 1 month that what we already assumed, I believe now, is we can prove that the majority of merchants I'm sorry, the majority of the spaces on Main Street are occupied by the people that are running the businesses in the buildings. Whether it's upstairs in their offices, and it's probably mostly those people, or whether it's the shop owners or the shop employees. And even anecdotally, I was sitting at a restaurant at one point, and they were saying, oh, we need to move the cars, meter maid's coming around, and they moved around, and one of them picked up the cell phone and said, hey, I know you're looking for a spot, but there's a spot right in front right now. So, like, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. So, but that's what this is. If there's any appetite in you guys learning more or want me to continue proving this, I can do so.
Well, now that I don't disagree because I see the same thing
Yeah.
around my buildings. I watch the people in the building next to me who do not have parking in front of their building.
Of course.
Come take up all the spots in front of my building, and they're all big spots, and they don't move. And I've said to them, you're taking parking spaces away from your potential customers, and they really don't care.
They don't care,
Right.
and that's the thing.
So now that we know this, what do we do about it?
Parking district.
Parking district,
Parking
parking
standards.
district, parking district, parking district, parking district, parking district.
So,
How many more times do we have to step in, folks? Come on.
The city needs
Well-
it, I mean, they.
Well, that's something else that we had proposed to do in the city staff.
and it's part of the downtown privacy plan.
I would love to see us just enforce the parking regulations we have in the books.
Right,
The
more,
lot that sits
more
behind my
enforcement.
building gets checked once a week.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Well, that's a huge gap, we have a huge gap in code enforcement, let's like,
100%.
I mean, we've got like 5 people, and I think we're maybe at 20%, so, we talked about that, we've gotta beef up our code enforcement, because it's not only parking, it's everything.
Yeah.
But you can park all day in one of the lots, it's 2 hours, and you'll never get ticketed.
Once a
Yeah.
month you might get a
So
ticket.
much
Yeah.
Maybe.
to do that, but that is on the agenda to
Okay.
deal with.
Let me share this with Margaret while you're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
So we've been promoting a parking district, and parking districts in the EDE.
okay,
We decided we would propose the city will do a study, to determine what the economic potential benefit would be, and then look at case studies. So we solicited a proposal for 20,000, which is kind of our limit. We wouldn't be able to pay for it with members' contributions, but we could raise money, grant money to do it. Basically, the city chilled that. If the city went out and got that study, it'd probably be a 100,000 plus study.
easily,
You're gonna get it like homegrown for 20,000,
yeah.
and the city chilled that.
When was this timing of that, Peter?
What, 2 years ago?
Okay.
Less than
About
that.
a year and a
That's
half.
not a year and a half ago.
And we just started bringing it up with Renee, we had a nice meeting with him.
It just got kicked down the.
It
yeah.
just, he said he was interested in it,
Not a
but,
priority.
I mean, I think he had just started and.
Yeah,
It's just an attitude
We just
with
need
the
to
staff,
Yeah.
They're not
yeah,
open to the community input. We tried again, we were gonna write the sign ordinance. The sign ordinance is one of the biggest chapters in the ordinance. Look at that, look at the signs out on Main Street.
Yeah.
Look at the result of our sign ordinance.
Mhm.
I wouldn't call that, great,
right.
percentage of signage. So we were gonna have, we did case studies, we found other cities that had good sign ordinances, and you know what your staff said? She said, this is Megan.
Okay,
Well, how do I say no?
oh boy,
This is your staff's
Yeah,
attitude.
yeah, that's
How should
Fortunately,
they
she's
know?
wrong, but
but that,
But that attitude.
but that attitude's probably
remains.
still.
it
prevails.
permeates, it permeates.
Yeah. No, it's good feedback, because this is the kind of stuff we're trying to,
I think Renee is open
Correct.
to change some things around even before a whole parking study. Like small incremental changes, maybe open up the Salinas Street garage and push it out.
Well, my mind's open about Renee, and I've heard good things about him, so I haven't seen anything would change that assessment. But I think if he's smart, he would be open to this. It's
Yeah.
like, why would he turn down the constituents doing the work that the staff is not doing, or they don't have the budget to do? Because you not only have the results, you have the support. You've built the infrastructure to support the
yep,
proposal.
But your study will create more work for them.
Well, as we've shown, we're willing to do a lot of the heavy lifting, so I hope that first section can be changed as well.
If Margaret has any ideas about where some additional funding might come from, we would welcome
I think that's the big challenge right now, is it's all about resources, you know, and being, 3-4 months in, we're just starting to address these bigger issues that are overlaying as we, go into our budget and budget for 2025, 26.
Where are you in the budget process?
We will be, we'll have a budget study on the 27th of May, and we saw the preliminary the other evening, and finances looked at it, but we'd only had like literally 4 days to mull through it, so we're like, we need some time, it's a lot. But, yeah,
One of the
we're getting
EEE recommendations is that you increase the budget of the planning side.
Yeah.
So you could do some of these rezoning things and address some of these issues. The Blue Ribbon Committee that Mark Griever ran about
Yeah.
8 years ago presented that, and we suggested at the time a $500,000
Okay.
allocation, and that should be to the city manager's office,
Okay,
not to the planning office, to the city manager's office. So that would be, timely
yeah,
to try and
for
pursue.
sure, okay. Yeah, well, I'll be on the phone with him at 11 o'clock today, so.
Okay.
Which is good for moments.
Do you have any more on your report?
I do have
Timing is
one
good.
one last thing. I did a public records request because Frank wanted to know, he's not here, about police activity downtown, and kind of stemmed from the conversation we had with the assault that happened at the art gallery. Anyway, I did a public records request to the county, and I asked for every police phone call to county comms for Main Street, 100, 200, 300, and 400 blocks. And this is the data that I came up with. I split it up, and I don't know why this is so hard, but they sent it to me in a printed out PDF that was then scanned and then sent to me. Even though this is coming from an electronic system, why can't we give it to me in a clean data set? But whatever. So I had to go through it and tweak it a little bit, but ultimately it came out to priority 1 through 9 calls, but most of them, if they're doing something, it's priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they gave me a list of problems or definitions, what they are, and that's what I have here. If it says not defined, they didn't give it to me, and I didn't want to assume what the call was. So, medical calls downtown, or at least on Main Street, we had nearly 80 calls last year. This is for the full 2024. Peace disturbance, 911 hang-ups, follow-ups, parking problems, suspicious people, alarm checks, et cetera, et cetera. So the next couple of pages is basically all of the data associated with pulling those records and my report. I can broaden this to include the remainder of our district so you guys can really see how many phone calls we get and where the culprits are or where the busy spots are. Like I said, I've not done Gavilan, Alisal, San Luis, John, and going further west. I don't have those streets either. All I did is touch Main Street because I wanted to start small. And I even asked I followed up on the county comm when they gave me this public records request, and I'm like, can you guys give it to me in a cleaner format? Because this is coming out of a computer system. They say, no, this is what you're allowed to get. And that's a whole different issue, but that's BS. Like, you gotta export it somehow, and why are you exporting and then printing and then scanning it again? So it just doesn't make
They
sense.
don't want you to be able to edit it.
Well, and that's probably what it is. There were several fields, and this is just me doing an OCR import and kind of hacking apart the chain. But there's at least 5% of this that was unreadable that I could not get data for. So this comes with a margin of error. And that's all I got for my district report that you guys have asked for.
Perfect. Any public comment?
That would be me.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's my phone. That's the city manager, so I think we're supposed to do it.
we're on the call.
Yeah.
Put them on speaker.
Thanks for coming, Margaret.
Thank you, guys.
With no public comment, we'll go ahead to our ad hoc committees, and first up, we have DISI.
Okay, so the last time I was here, I passed around the edible magazine and showed you the spring ad. This is our summer ad that will be coming out next month. So we rotated the pictures to feature different restaurants and entities. We put the logos of the businesses because we really want to make sure they are highlighted and it's not just general pictures of downtown. We want them to get credit. And the QR code, I did it from my distance, so if you guys want to try it too. It leads to a map on our website, so that picture of the map, but it shows, I think it's like 36 restaurants, cafes, bars on our website that QR code will lead to.
And you guys saw the little map inside the edible magazine? Isn't that so cool?
Yeah, and that map is out, distributed, all over the place, so, and being picked up, which is awesome. And so we have this. So Edible also does launch parties. So we're in charge of the summer launch party, and we're gonna have it on June 25th at Heirloom. If you guys wanna mark your calendars, from 5 to 7 p.m. We're partnering with Heirloom to host it. There'll be apps, drink specials, entertainment. We will hand out the dining guide that is online or that you guys saw last time. We will also hand out the bingo cards at that. June 25th, 5 to 7 p.m. The spring launch party had over 150 people attend. So we're hoping that we'll get about 150 people downtown. And the idea is that once we get them to downtown from 5 to 7, hopefully they'll stay for dinner and drinks and hang out, because the apps and drinks that we have here the idea is not to like provide you dinner. It's just to kind of give you a teaser of what Heirloom has to offer, and then stay downtown. And hopefully the dining guide will introduce these people to new locations downtown. The bingo card maybe entice people to keep coming back downtown. So discovering downtown Salinas.
And well, music, is there gonna be music?
Yeah, well, whatever entertainment they want to come up with. I thought music would be
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
yeah, because they have that stage and everything too. So, and they send it out. Edible will send it out to all their advertisers. So anyone that advertises with them will be invited to this party, and then they open it up to the public 2 to 3 weeks before the event. So, and then because Heirloom is agreeing to host it, they will write a feature article on Heirloom, and they will include a hero shot of Heirloom on their website and in some of their email blasts, as well as their dining guide that's online. So it'll give some good press to Heirloom and downtown in general. Then we have so I've shown you guys some of the videos that we've worked on. All of our videos are now complete. We have 3 versions for Google Ads, plus the Reno one that everyone saw about doing, like working, living, hanging out, doing everything downtown. We have a holiday video that we did run during the holidays, the 2024 holidays, but we'll run it on our Google Ads campaign this coming holiday as well. We have 6 social media videos complete. We will end up having 11, as you can see down there, and each video will feature a different specific business. So we have 6 complete. We still have to film some of them, but those are the ones that we have footage of that we will be featuring. And that campaign will roll out slowly through the end of the year, like for the rest of the year. I don't know, can't really remember which ones you guys have seen, but we have Beautiful Blessings, Alvarado, Central Barks, Farmers Union, Prohibition Parlor, in downtown. They are everywhere from 52 seconds, a minute and 34 seconds, 37 seconds. It kind of depends how much content they gave us when we were filming them, like what we could create with it. Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can play,
Central Barks already, I think is what you.
that's the one you guys have seen?
Yep.
Okay, so is there one that anyone wants specifically to see?
I'll just pick one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go with Beautiful Blessings.
The name of our business is Beautiful Blessings Photography and Boutique. We opened our business here in downtown Salinas in January of this year.
We love the fact that there are different shops here, there's dining, retail spots.
Just with all the variety of the businesses, the retail, all the foot traffic that it brings, just brings a lot of visibility to our business. Also the dining around here too. Heirloom, Salinas, pizza.
The Taco Tuesdays at Michael's is the spot on Tuesdays for sure.
The people that we meet and interact with, they're all very welcoming. It just feels like more community oriented. I think just being a bit of a smaller city, everybody seems to be pretty friendly.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of Salinas that we're proud to be a part of.
That's
Nicely done.
one of those. And then I'm not sure if I played, oh, sorry, that's Colonel 11. I'm not sure if I played, where did this go?
See, too many tabs open.
I know. But those aren't even my tabs, I'm just looking for the document. No, I don't know where it went.
Was it the word over there on the bar by the trash?
No,
The word document?
that's beautiful blessings.
So great.
I don't know where it went. There it is. Okay, and then these for Google Ads. So these are all kind of like a different variation of the same, if that makes sense. And these will be used for our Google Ads campaign. So there's a 15, 30, and 45 second. Okay, and I'm not sure which one I've already created, but here's the 30-second one.
Welcome to Salinas City Center, where life happens. Whether you're living, working, dining, shopping, or just having fun, downtown Salinas is the place to be. Grab coffee from one of our many cafes. Savor delicious meals from a variety of restaurants, offering everything from casual, family-style pizza to top-notch Mexican cuisine. Find unique pieces while shopping at small businesses. Enjoy the evenings and weekends at one of our several locally owned bars.
Right, right, right.
Having events for the whole family.
I have other shirts.
Downtown Salinas. Work, live, and play in Salinas City Center.
No such thing as camping.
So there's one of those versions. So we have a bunch of these, and we're gonna be rolling them out here soon. So we just gotta get our grant money into our Google Ads. Get that all figured out, and then we can roll it out. So. Okay. I can play videos for you guys all day, but I don't know if you want to see all of them. But we could also just email the links, and then you can watch them on your own time. So.
Well, SOBO, you guys are up.
Well, I know that Greg was working on getting some updated figures. I know I got the Christmas light proposal, so we can do the update to fix the lights that are broken, fix things so that we can get all the trees relit again, which is, I feel like, really important for us to be able to do. Also, this is now the time we're gonna start working on the plans. We walked through and discussed actually bringing all of the plants down, I think in front of Benjamin Moore.
All of the theme posts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the one that's already done?
Yes, so there's one in particular that just happens to be already a little bit lower, so it's not so high. So we're gonna have them put a chain on all of the planters are just really high, so all you see is the bottom, so we're trying to bring those plants down. Replacing all the plants inside because they're full, they're just root balls at this point, and they're not looking nice anymore. So now that it's spring, we're getting together, or almost here summer, gonna have all of those replaced.
And that quote is signed, and they're working on getting it
The
done.
date, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just-
And having it lower also makes it easier to water, which is a huge issue that we've had with those pots, is the watering and the issues that they've had making that happen for us, so.
You want me to run through all the outstanding quotes that I pulled for that?
Sure, that'd be great, yeah.
So those are the drains you just mentioned, 10 pots on 10 theme posts with drop chains, matching color, because the one that's up there right now is stainless or like zinc,
Yeah.
so they're gonna be black, just like the rest of the chains in the pot. We also have pots that we're trying out in front of Central Barks, because there's no more plants in that planter, because a lot of dogs urinate there, so we're actually putting it in some tall concrete pots that will not be easily removed, and that quote is...
Dogs can pee on it?
Yeah, the dogs can peel the pots.
But
and
it'll
not
look
kill the
pretty.
plants. And the, everything's included, quote is signed, sealed, delivered, so that's in progress as well. The poppies we are leaving in place. However, once they all lose their leaves, landscaping is already aware of it, that poppies are fair game to yank.
And then they grow back.
It's
They
just
grow back.
cleaning up, yeah, so
Yeah.
it doesn't look like
Because
that
the
dead
poppies turn into
stuff.
weeds, dry weeds very soon, very fast after they lose their flowers. So that is a thing in progress. The tree light quote is received. I just need to sign it and return it. So all of our light bulbs that have burned out in the last 3 or 4 years, also including the alley, are going to get replaced. The lights are going to be restrung a little bit and put back in after a tree trimming and tree growing, so they're going to look nice again. And then regarding adding trees, I've been in contact with Victor at the city, and they've been very busy, keep nagging them, but they are evaluating all of the tree planting locations, because not all holes in the pavement are conforming to current requirements / guidelines. So, which is funny. But anyway, whatever locations they give back to us are places that we can put a tree in when they finally get to it. And I've also requested them to trim a bunch of trees.
They started.
They have?
The CSUV, do you see them trimming all those trees there?
Okay, good, because I got email and I didn't, the way I read it, I wasn't sure whether they were gonna trim it next week, or whether they were gonna put it on the calendar next week
Yeah,
to
they were out
trim them
there.
at some time. Okay, so all those trees on the north side of the central / 100 block, we're gonna be trimming, or are trimmed, and the goal is to also dump some lights, put some lights into the trees.
Especially as you go into the parking garage there,
Yeah.
just to add some light and make it feel a little bit
Well, It's
more
really dark when
bright.
you walk at night, so at least, it's a part of it. It
Yeah.
directs you to go to the parking.
And some of the trees, and this is on the Steinbeck property, and that's a whole nother can we need to open, but some of those trees have become very overgrown and very overbearing to the trees on the sidewalk. So whether they cut them back, or we remove the sidewalk trees, or something, just to clean that up a little bit is the next step on that. Other than that, that's basically the SOBO stuff we've been doing.
What's your timing on all this stuff today?
Now.
I mean, I'm gonna get it done.
I
Yes.
know, we're pushing now,
Yeah,
now.
so the geraniums are signed, the pops are signed, the poppies are assigned, like what to do next. The trees, quotes on my desk, I just have to sign it.
What about replanting some of the landscape areas?
Oh, rock,
And the
thank
rocks.
you.
The rock and the-
I didn't put it on my list. The rocks, Selena actually forgot about the rocks, so I reminded her, and that's going to include adding more California gold rocks and adding some plants to that as well.
We're pushing her to now,
Because we
now,
already
give us your
decided.
bid, we want to approve, we want it done. I really wanted it done
Well,
before
spring right now.
summer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's get it- get it in.
Now's the time to get it done. so
Yeah.
Chris
So-
Mulligan.
So that's
Try.
a
So I think we just need to
SOBO.
ask them for the timeline, say, I need to know your date, what's your date? And then if we hold them accountable to a date, then they'll, if we just allow them to continue, like where it's continuing, it's just not gonna happen. So I would just say, oh, I need a solid date when you're gonna be finished.
So yeah, that's the only outstanding quote for Selena right now is the rocks and the additional plants.
And most of this is gonna be grant funds.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not all.
It'll look
Yeah.
great, so if you can give her a date, maybe just shoot her an email, tell her
Will
the
do.
date, that'd be great, and just let us know what that date is.
You got it.
Yeah, push her hard.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's basically it from what I have to show you.
So
Yeah,
land
that's
use,
it.
but I think is there a report on land use?
We haven't had our meeting we didn't do our meeting last week or month because we had our special meeting for the annual report.
Yeah, there is a city-sponsored EDE, well, there's a stakeholders workshop on Wednesday, May 21st at 9 a.m. here. And this, effectively, I think we've saved the EDE. And we presented some potential items that can be culled. And the city is now participating in identifying some of their possible candidates to cull, and also either some language or some complications. So they're gonna be there at that meeting. But we're also gonna start a list of priorities. So I know that the land use committee came up with a list of about 6 priorities. So you guys could put them on the table by then.
Yeah.
So we'll have sort of a consensus group of priorities, hopefully from all the stakeholders groups.
Move out for any public comment.
I'll pass.
Okay, perfect. Action items, review updated bylaws. Where are we on that?
That's up to you guys. We've asked the board to review those for like the last 2 meetings.
Yeah, has anyone had any time to review that? I know, Peter, you did a long time ago. Do you have some comments on any of it? No, everything's fine. Everyone else? No? Okay.
Well, I guess there is one open comment, which is whether or not we go from 9 to 7.
Yeah.
The bodies on the board?
Well, the bodies is a little sensitive.
I leave it where it is, I think, the more the better, if it's 9, we'll go get 9. If it's 7, we'll
Right, well, that's what's in the
let it fall to
document.
7, and
Yeah.
we'll lose some energy and ideas.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Okay. So Greg, I'd love to get your input.
I'll look through it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think there's no action to be taken on it at the moment, and other than we'll move it to June. So do we need to make a motion to move it to June, or just no
I'll
action?
just put it on the calendar.
Okay. Any public comment after that? Okay, any further board